can't get in, meeting not started.
It is now.
Okay, you're getting there, sorry. Wow,
I'm definitely always on delay. Mr. King, I believe we're ready.
All right, thank you. Like to call the Bethel Local School Board of Education regular meeting to order at 7:04 p.m. Mr. Wanamaker, will you please do a roll call?
Yes, Mrs.
She's here, she's connecting, present.
Okay. Okay, Mrs. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Here.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Here.
and Mr. King.
I'm here virtually.
Okay.
All please join me and rise and state the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. All right, we do have several additions to the agenda, as was previously stated. Do we have any more additions to the agenda?
I have one, Jacob. Just gotta find it. Under board items, to approve the exterior finishes Garmin Miller presented at the facilities meeting.
Okay, under board reports.
Or board items.
Okay. Any others? All right, moving along. Do we have any hearing of the public with regards to agenda items? Hearing none, we'll move forward and turn over administrative reports to Mr. Firks.
I think that will too many of those.
They're
already.
Okay.
If they're not,
Okay.
No, just all of those items were added. She just didn't.
Okay. All right. Administrative reports this evening. Elementary principal, Miss Jody Petty. What's that? Does anyone have any questions for Miss Petty in regards to her report? Okay. Middle school principal, anyone have any questions for Mr. Ziegler? High school principal, Mr. Sloat. Okay. And then item number 5, important dates. So we could bring those up on the screen.
Does anyone have any other dates or items to bring up?
Did we want to mention the hog roast?
Do we have the official dates of that yet?
You just a moment. Yeah, we have, it's August 7th at 5 p.m., the hog roast. And then they're also having a Strengthen the Hive 2-mile run and walk at the same time to start that, kick that event off. And Mr. Clute's kind of organizing that. It'll be the typical, what was historically the Bethel 5K at Charleston Falls will become a 2-mile run walk at 5 p.m. on August 7th. So it'll be a little different.
Excellent. Thank you, Lori, for bringing that forward.
At the same time, Mrs. Sebastian?
They're kicking off the hog roast with the run walk.
Okay.
That's my understanding, my limited understanding. I will likely be walking. I do not run.
Okay. Can you go back to the agenda? So the next up is the items for treasurer's items. But before we go there, I just wanted to make a comment. I'd like to thank Mr. Ziegler. I believe this is going to be his last report potentially involving students with his upcoming retirement. So I'd like to thank him for his service to our students, staff, and to our community, as well as what Ms. Roll and Ms. Petty has done in the elementary, and all the teachers that have hit some great milestones in the elementary as well. And then finally, with the high school, we'd like to thank Mr. Swope and his team for all the efforts and information that they've passed on over the previous school year. So next, I would like to say, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Wanamaker for the treasurer's items requesting board action.
Okay, first one is the board minutes from the May 5th and the May 10th for the first two, which I think you've all seen copies of those already. The bills, I wrote down there's four bills that we paid. Actually, were over 50% of our total expenditures for the month. One of them was the Chromebooks, was $139,000. One was paying the Miami County ESC, which is $111,000. That was the last 3 months, basically, not the last 3 months, but the catch up paying for the teachers and various that we have been doing for special ed. The $59,000 to Garmin Miller for the working on the building project. And finally, it's $135,000 that was insurance for the employees for the month. So those four add up to 440-some thousand, and our total for the month was just over 800. So the rest of it's got some bills in there, but for the most part, that was the biggest bulk of everything. If anyone has any questions on those, I'll gladly get more data or answer. Monthly financial report, which is a package. I don't know, I'm sure you've had a chance to get through it. Are there any questions rather than me going through it all? Anything in there that you remember seeing, questioning, or more about?
I emailed you on the federal lunch thing, and you explained that to me perfectly, that it's a reimbursement situation. That's why that's in our.
It's actually a profit. Ms. Mansfield had a question regarding the temporary and how the money worked on the cafeteria, especially with the fact that right now it's 100% free and reduced. It's supposed to be 100% free. There's no, everyone gets it that wants fees. The only thing on those, just a little note, the revenue back in that month, the month of May, was the income tax for the prior 3 months. And that was $50,000 over what we had expected to get, which just says that things were starting to get better and more people are working and getting jobs, and it's just generating more income. The amended appropriations, there was about $21,000 adjustments altogether, and that was several. Just as we get towards the end, we have built up the appropriations to a point, and this just sort of helping us get over that final step to get there to the end of the year. Donations, there was 3 of them on there. We had one anonymous for $1,200. Wolford, that's $114.99 donated for electronics for the music account, and the athletic boosters was at $95 from the high school student council. Boosters, I'm sorry, the athletic boosters to the high school student council. Direction straight here. We went over the 5-year forecast last time. Is there anything that you've seen on there, or questions that you have that we didn't cover before, or that you want to know more about? Okay. I'm gonna say it's been a while. We went through it once. That's why I wanted to double check. And we had a scholarships were all set up and were listed there for the 5 individuals and the 5 scholarships that were paid out this year. We just finished the paperwork up on it, and I think the checks are either went out today or they're going out first of the week. So. And then that's the approval of resolution for temporary appropriations. As the government requires, the state requires that we have money appropriated for our accounts before I can write a check. Well, we were actually putting down the money in appropriations for the next fiscal year. At this point, they're temporary. They're not final. They're just temporary to get started. And that allows us to continue on after the first of the month with doing business as normal plus payroll, which that tends to keep everybody happy. And that's just about everything I had. Got questions on it, or?
Thank you, Mr. Wanamaker. Does anyone in the room have questions? Julie, if you're online, do you have questions? All right.
I have
Yeah.
one. Danny had made this earlier. If you go back to the scholarship recipients, one of the reasons for those of you who remember what the amounts were from year to year, Danny had asked last time why they were a little bit lower is because interest rates are very low right now. So in order not to exhaust the funds, those amounts were adjusted. Just in case some of you are like, why are the amounts different? I mean, it's still a generous amount, but not as generous as normal.
All right. Thank you for that clarification. And yes, I remember we established those at the interest rate amount so they could be sustainable funds for the long term and impact even more Bethel graduates. So that's wonderful. All right, if we'll go to item J, do we have a motion to place these items on from the treasurer's report on the consent calendar?
Lida, I'll move.
Thank you, Lida. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Elam. All right, any discussion? Mr. Wanamaker, could you call the roll, please?
Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian.
Yes.
Mrs. Reese, Mr. King.
Yes. All right, next will be a motion to adopt those consent calendar items within the treasurer's report. Do we have a motion?
I'll move. This is Lori.
Thank you, Lori. Do we have a second?
Lida, I'll second.
Thank you, Lida, for the second. Any discussion? I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Wanamaker for the 5-year forecast and all he's done with our financial reports coming in as our interim treasurer until our new treasurer's in place. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and he's very promptly answered my questions for sure, because clearly as my second year on the board, as these things come up, I'm still having several questions about how a lot of these things work. So he's been terrific with that. And congratulations to the scholarship recipients. I think that's obviously great. I mean, there's always competitions for those, so that's fantastic. Congratulations to them.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Mr. Wanamaker, could you call the vote, please?
Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes.
Mrs. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. Elam.
Yes.
Mrs. Reese, and Mr. King.
Yes. All right, is there any other information that the treasurer would like to provide?
Not necessarily, no, not right now.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, moving on to number 8, it'll be the superintendent's items requesting board action.
Thank you, Mr. King. On the agenda this evening for consideration by the Board of Education will be letter A, the approval of the master agreement. As attached, happy to say that the negotiations process has ended relatively quickly here at Bethel Local Schools. On the agenda this evening is a 3-year contract for our certificated staff. Essentially, it's language changes within the negotiated agreement and financially reinstatement of frozen steps, which I know has been a significant issue in the district over the last handful of years and probably beyond. And then also base increases over the 3 years, in addition to the frozen steps of 1%, 1.25%, and 2%. Would like to thank the staff members that participated on the negotiations team, representing BEA, Tracy Brewer, Casey Denlinger, Abby Manson, Mindy Campbell, and also Mr. Brett Brookhart. Letter B, approval of resignation for supplemental positions. Mr. Brett Kopp as boys varsity basketball coach. Mrs. Abby Manson is instructional teacher, and also Kristen Owens as instructional teacher. I'd like to thank those 3 folks for their service to the district as the boys basketball coach and also as the elementary teacher and high school English teacher. Wish them the best of luck as Mr. Kopp has accepted the head coaching position at Pickwood City Schools. Mrs. Manson will be traveling up north to Troy, and Mrs. Owens will be going to Tip City next year. Also, the approval, letter D, of resignation of classified staff. Ryan Santo, who is a recent graduate of Bethel High School, who will be entering the United States Navy this year. So we wish Ryan the best of luck as he's currently at boot camp. It'll be good for him. Good kid, but whole different experience. And then also Mr. Cole Brannon. Both of these young men were phenomenal workers for us this year. They were able to do a co-op type program where they would go to school half the day and then work with Mr. Bird and Mr. Goins, our maintenance supervisor and assistant maintenance supervisor, and make some money and also gain a valuable work experience and really make some significant contributions to the district as well. Cole this summer is working out at a summer camp in I believe Minnesota, and then we'll be going to college next year. So wish those 2 the best as well. Letter E is a little bit of an odd one, not through the fact that it's different, but it's the fact that we're approving lunch prices, although lunches will be free for next school year. And essentially what this is doing is allowing us to cover all of our bases so that if something would happen to change and they would remove, which I don't think they will, we at least have some lunch prices in place. So these were the current lunch prices that were in effect for this year. There will be no increase. We do not anticipate any charges for next year. Like I had mentioned, we're just doing it to make sure we have all of our ducks in a row. Letter F is the approval for schedule of record retention and disposition of the state auditors. Mr. Wanamaker, do you have any more information on that as far as how that typically goes?
Typically, it's just a matter of now we have to start cleaning out boxes and determining what stays and what doesn't. Record what we can dispose of without question, we have to record and get state approval.
Okay, just so people kind of have an idea what that. Appreciate that. Letter G is the approval or consideration of certificated certified staff. So I'm going to have Mrs. Petty introduce our first new teacher here this evening.
Thank you. Miss Amanda Milketta is up for hire this evening as a 3rd grade teacher. We are excited to bring her on board. She is a graduate of Ball State University and she's certified for early childhood licensure. In both Indiana and Ohio, she has licensure in both. And she also has a bachelor's degree in anthropology and a minor in psychology, which is kind of interesting. So, Amanda, is there anything you want to say in regards to student teaching or your experiences in Indiana, where you taught for 3 years as a third grade teacher?
Just that I'm excited to continue teaching third grade. I really enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I thought I was gonna want to teach the little kids, but I was very excited and I'm excited to be here.
She resides in Tip City, so she's close by.
We do have a couple of additional individuals that are here this evening that we hired at a previous meeting, but obviously weren't in attendance. They were gracious enough to come here this evening, so I think it's also good to be able to put a face with the name. Did you guys finish your arm wrestling match yet?
Mrs. Catherine Burrell is here. She was going to. She's the new school counselor that we hired that was approved at the last board meeting. She comes to us with several years of experience in a couple of other districts in the area. She lives here in Bethel Township. She has 2 sons who will be in school here. One was this past year, one is going to be new as a kindergartner this year. And she is married to a Bethel graduate.
Yes. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity and I'm really thrilled for the school year, even though I really need to enjoy summer vacation. Thank you.
Also here this evening, who was hired at a previous board meeting, is Mr. Jason Cook, who will be serving as our new technology director. Mr. Cook comes to us from Springfield Clark Technology Center, where he served as the IT tech specialist. What's your official title?
IT support specialist.
There you go. IT support specialist at the Career Tech Center since 2017. Degree-wise, he has a computer networking associate's degree, cybersecurity, associate's degree in graphic design. So you do a little bit of it all, huh?
A little bit.
And then prior to that, he was also an IT tech at ProStratus in Springfield. So really excited to have Mr. Cook join us with his experience as a technology director in a school setting. I think he has a lot of experience in areas that we are currently trying to upgrade with wiring and networking capabilities. But also just day-to-day operations and management of IT department and networking systems, because we have some work to do. So, and he's also, his wife teaches here at the elementary, so there'll be a husband and wife duo, and there'll be a lot of lovely car rides to and from homeschool. So, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Also on the agenda this evening for consideration is the approval of supplemental positions, fall, winter sports, and non-sport supplementals. The board will be considering the hiring of Mr. Shane Kinser as varsity boys basketball coach. Most recently, Mr. Kinser was the head varsity boys basketball coach at Northmont. Had spent 13 years as a basketball coach in the district, working his way up from the youth levels through middle school to high school, and then as the head coach. So he currently teaches math at Northmont, and his wife and 3 children reside there. So we're excited to have somebody with his experience coming to our district. Also on the agenda this evening are several of our staff members who will be, or who are currently serving summer school teachers. Jody Spears in the middle school, Lauren Duhan in the middle school, and Colette Clayton in the middle school. And then also Mindy Gatrell will be replacing Miss Kristen Owens as junior class advisor as well. So those are on the agenda this evening for consideration. Letter I is approval of salary increase for certified and classified administrators for school year 21-22 through school year 23-24. And so you can see each of the school years, 21-22, 22-23, 23-24. Those certified and classified administrators that will be receiving 2% raises for each of those years. Those only include supervisors or administrators that are currently working in the district and are not directly hired by the Board of So on there this evening will be Mr. Todd Bird, Mr. Damon Smith, Mr. Tony Cochran, Ms. Mary Roll, Ms. Missy Wolski, Mr. Barrett Swope, Ms. Galen Rhodes, Ms. Jody Petty, Ms. Amy Mathis. Letter J, approval of increase for classified staff. So we've settled the agreement with our classified staff, which essentially mirrors the agreement that our certified staff received. It's on the agenda this evening for consideration and approval. So the Bethel Board of Education will approve the following for the classified staff. Number one, reinstatement of frozen steps and an increase in base salary as follows. School year 21-22, 1% increase. School year 22-23, 1.25% increase. And school year 23-24, a 2% increase. Letter K is approval of substitute classified employees. Bethel Local School Board Education will approve the following individuals as a classified substitute employee. Mr. Ronald Ritchie as a substitute bus driver as needed at $14 an hour. I think it's a good sign anytime we can get bus drivers. I think every district in the state of Ohio struggles to find drivers. And anytime we can add these folks to the agenda, I think makes Mr. Swope happy because he doesn't have to get in the bus and drive. And Mr. Ritchie has been in the area for a while and has worked in other districts as a driver. And I think he's just trying to pick up more working hours. So if you know anybody out there that's interested in picking up hours and loves to help kids and drive a bus, we'll hire you. Letter L, approval of a service agreement. Bethel Board of Education will approve the following service agreement with Premier Community Health for the following. This is to provide nursing services for our students with disabilities that are coming into either currently in our district or are coming into our district for next school year. These students do require specific services for their needs. And you can see the full-time nurse and then also the part-time nurse as far as the rates there. Letter M, approval of the fall restart plan. So part of the requirements from the Ohio Department of Education, excuse me, and also with the recent funds that we've received from our ESSER dollars has to do with a restart plan that we have to have put in place for the upcoming school year. It's going to be very similar to how we ended the school year, obviously with really a lot of the guidance coming from the Ohio Department of Health, but also the Ohio Department of Education or the governor's office in Columbus. And so we obviously realize that the more kids that are in school, the better off it is for them, not only educationally, but socially, emotionally as well. And so it breaks down kind of the communication for folks that have questions in the community. They can reach out to myself. There's my email address that's listed. It also kind of provides some daily expectations as far as we kind of expect students and staff to wash their hands regularly and frequently, which is pretty common and normal. We have invested a significant amount of money in bottle fillers throughout the district, which we've used state dollars with. So it kind of anticipates the use of those bottle fillers to use their own water bottles throughout the day. And then obviously alert or notify staff or teachers of any changes in wellness or health or any symptoms they may be experiencing. So we've kind of talked with health department officials and other local schools. We've also received some feedback from our own nurses here, Mrs. Kemper and Mrs. Moore, in regards to some of these student illnesses. So we ask that parents keep their children home if they have students with a fever over 100 degrees. Should be a common practice. And to please stay home if they have any following symptoms: cough, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, new loss of taste or smell. We also ask that they stay home if they experience 2 of the following symptoms: fever, either measured or subjective, chills, rigors, muscle soreness, headache, sore throat, GI issues, nausea, and vomiting or diarrhea. And then obviously the symptoms, as you can see as well. Returning to school, we ask that students be fever-free for 24 hours without any fever-reducing medication. They also don't experience any of those symptoms that we described above. And this is obviously after COVID symptoms, I should say, or COVID illness, or 10 days since symptoms first appeared. Daily expectations of teachers and staff, daily wellness checks, questionnaires, alert administration of any changes, follow the quarantining guidelines as they come from the Department of Health, and continue to disinfect classrooms and areas with large student group usage or student areas of convocation. Vaccines, we do encourage people to receive their vaccines, although we do understand that it's a personal decision. We are going to try to discourage visitors and volunteers into the building as much as possible. I know it's not ideal, but we still are in a time period where infections can come into the school. So if we do have visitors that do come into the school, you may be asked to take your temperature or wear a face covering, or be asked as a health questionnaire from secretaries or principals if you experienced any issues, those kind of things. Protective measures will be in place. We do have hand sanitizers. We're going to be vigilant with disinfecting and cleaning the school. We do ask that parents continue to use pay schools, which is what we have, or send checks in, try to minimize cash transactions as much as possible, but we will continue to accept them. As far as equipment, once again, those water bottle filling stations are available for students to fill their student containers. We're going to try to keep students out of the hallways and at lockers as much as possible, but we know that's going to be very, very difficult. We are not requiring students or staff to start the year wearing face coverings unless that changes from the State Department of Health or Columbus. Online education. There's been some discussion in regards to the county and the use of what we call option C this year. As of now, that is not going to be offered. I'm not saying that won't change, but if folks do have interest in additional online options moving forward, we suggest that you contact either your building principal for options, or you can contact me as well. But I do think the district does realize that as the district continues to grow and change, it would be good down the road if we looked at starting some sort of a Bethel Local Schools online academy or type program that could help with credit recovery and a lot of different things. And I think that's going to happen probably at some point in the future. I just don't know if it's going to happen for next year. And then continuity of service, we also had to kind of talk about, we were in session for a majority of the school year, although the middle school did have to close down in-person learning for a short stretch. And we will continue to monitor our students' social and emotional health and provide services where needed. And we have continued to try to close the gap with the offering of summer school at the middle school and high school levels. And then we've also had online education opportunities at the elementary level as well. So if you have any additional questions in regards to COVID and what's going to be expected for next year and maybe beyond, we've also provided the Miami County Health Department website. As they release updates, you can receive a lot of helpful information from the website. So I hate to be so long-winded, but I thought we needed to go through that so people were aware. Those are all my items for this evening.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ferks. And I think that was, although long-winded, it was great information, helping provide the community about what are the requirements when we're going to at least start going back to school for the next school year, as well as our staff and students. And as you had stated, it's all pending, any new guidelines or requirements levied upon us. So the next item then would be a motion to place the items from the superintendent's report on the consent calendar.
I'll move.
Thank you, Mr. Elam. Do we have a second?
I'll second. This is Lida.
Thank you, Lida, for the second discussion.
Yeah, I have a couple of things. First of all, I did want to thank our student workers, Cole and Ryan. I don't know how many of you knew, but Cole was one of the reasons we have Bethel Rock out here. And it was one of my personal favorite things of the 2021 school year, because that's pretty cool that he was able to work with the administration, maintenance, and RV Jurgens and get it here. And it actually happened on the last day of school. I want to go back a little bit. Though it was a COVID year, I think the seniors this year that have graduated really had a great time. They got to experience prom. They had a wonderfully organized senior send-off. The last day, before their last day of school, they camped out. And then painted the rock the last day of school. And then I didn't say this earlier, but graduation was very well done at Hobart. I have heard nothing but good things from parents, plenty of parking, and thank you, Mr. Swope, Mrs. Montgomery, and all the other people who were involved, because I'm sure there were others. It was really nice to hear Mrs. Porto give such an energetic speech. Now I know why her students love her, because she was incredible. So I wanted to mention that. The second thing I have is I want to mention the credit recovery. I want to thank the administration for offering that to our middle school and high schoolers. And I guess there's an online portion for the elementary. So I wanted to thank, because I know that hopefully will help some of the students. And the third thing I had was with the master agreement, there were a few edits. Jacob, how do we want to handle those?
We would just be accepting this agenda pending, accepting the master agreement as requested to be amended as you had sent. So there were several grammatical edits and a clarification issue. So I think so we can move forward would be approving this item to be on the consent agenda as proposed amended.
Okay, and I wanted clarification on the supplementals because I was unclear. In the contract on supplementals, and I'll go ahead and publicly ask those. Baseball and softball, my understanding was we will either have a varsity assistant or a reserve coach, not both.
That's incorrect.
That's incorrect.
For baseball and softball, there will be assistant coaches next year. And
Okay,
there'll be a JV coach if there's a team.
okay, I just wanted to make sure. And the head strength and conditioning coach in the agreement, should the weight room positions be omitted? Because they
Yeah,
were.
those three positions need to be combined into the one. The three supplementals that currently exist. So there's like May to August to, I don't know the timeframes. And
So,
there's a
so right
strength
now,
and
there's
speed.
the head strength and conditioning coach was at the 0.15 multiplier, but the other two were still left in, so those need
Okay.
removed.
All right.
And then the third one was just the wording on the drama coaches, but Tracy, I had several just incidental numeric errors, and I think Lyda had found another one.
Thanks, yeah.
It didn't change the overall structure, but I did want clarification on supplemental, so it's possible we will have 3 coaches for softball and baseball if the numbers.
If there's enough numbers, but
Okay.
we haven't had.
I just wanted clarification because I truly didn't know. I didn't recall. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know.
So with the exception of that one, Jacob, then the baseball, softball issue, the other ones would.
Yeah, and there is one place where it refers several times to 4 days, and then all of a sudden it throws in 2 days, and I'm like, what's right? I just sent that to you to say, I don't even understand, so if we could just get clarification on the 4-day, 2-day thing, that would be great.
All right, so those would be as stated, recommended updates to that master agreement, as well as Mr. Ferks, I believe you have emails identifying from Ms. Mansfield and Ms. Sebastian there for that. So that is what we would be adding to the consent calendar with that amendment to that. Any other discussion items? All right, Mr. Wanamaker, could you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Mrs. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes,
Mrs. Reese, and Mr. King.
Yes. All right, next will be a motion to adopt the consent calendars with the items from that amended superintendent's report.
I will move, Jacob.
Thank you, Lori. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Elam. Any further discussion?
I will say, Mr. King, I think we've lost Ms. Reese somewhere, so.
I agree. She is not, I did not see her on here. So we would move forward.
So I just wanted to let that.
Oh, as noted for the minutes, yes. Okay, any further discussion items?
I just want to say thank you to Justin for working with the health department and nursing staff and the other staff getting our document together for ready to start, because I know that's a lot of work. So thank you to him for that.
All right, any further discussion?
Master agreement, I mean, I think it's fabulous that it's done, and I'm excited about it. I hope everyone else is excited about it. It's always the goal, right?
Yes, definitely. And I would like to say yes, thank you to all of the BEA staff and members that were part of the negotiations team, as well as Mr. Ferks for setting us up for success, and the rest of the board for being present so that we could make decisions quickly as we move forward in that agreement, which turned out to be wonderful. So if there is no other further discussion, then Mr. Wanamaker, could you call the vote, please?
Bastian,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Mrs. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mrs. Reese, hard time, and Mr. King.
Yes. All right. Thank you. So number 9, other information from the superintendent, Mr. Ferks.
Letter A, very excited to announce that we've received the K through 12 Prevention Education Initiatives Grant for the amount of $10,529.85 from the Tri-County Board of Recovery and Mental Health Services located up in Troy. I'd like to thank our high school social emotional counselor, Ms. Colleen Henderson, also our elementary social emotional counselor, Ms. Sarah Davidson, for their work in kind of putting together the Hope Squad program. I know Mrs. Davidson had talked to me previously, and now we're able to kind of move forward with it this year. The Hope Squad program, for our middle school and high school program, or school systems and buildings, which is a peer-to-peer initiative that is anti-bullying, suicide prevention. We will also be having staff members trained to be essentially advisors in those kind of roles. And this grant will pay for the entire program for 2 years. And it will also pay for the entire professional development that our staff will be going through. And so I think it's going to be a nice upgrade, not only to our programming here in the district at the middle school, high school levels, but it will also be good to have student leadership get developed, student peer interactions increase and improve, and also provide much needed services for students who may be experiencing some struggles or challenges. And anytime you can receive grant money to pay for those programs is also a good thing. Letter B, I think it was important to share this. We were able to receive this today from Garmin Miller Architects. There we go. Scroll down, it's kind of an aerial drawing of our future site plan. So you can see where our current school site existing plan exists. And then kind of the work we've been doing over the course of the last year with the development of our K through 5 building, which will be located off the corner of 201 and Agenbrod. You can see kind of the parking lot in front and the bus drop off and pick off and pick up, drop off and pick up from in behind. Between the bus lot and the school building, which you can't really see from the aerial drawing, will be essentially a playground area. And then to the, trying to think directionally, west, northwest, right? Is our, is that right? Northwest? Southwest. Terrible directions.
It's okay. North
Yeah,
is
yeah.
It's okay.
Is our football stadium. And then you can kind of see what our football track and also soccer stadium, I should say,
Yeah.
Which will have an 8-lane all-weather track, which will be first time for the district. We're raising money currently on the side privately through our athletic department, athletic boosters, and community drive to fundraise for artificial surface. The stadium project is roughly $3.5 million that the school district has put towards it. We are in the process of raising additional funds of $1 million to complete everything that we want to do for it. So far, through corporate sponsorships and naming rights, we've been able to fundraise over $500,000. So we're halfway there, and we've just started the process within the last several months. So we're really excited about that. We'll be having a community mailer go out very, very soon. And if you've ever want to learn more about the project, you can visit the site at www.bethellegacy.com, all lowercase. and it'll take you there and it'll give you information on the project, what's going to all be involved and what it entails. It'll give you information on what's going to be provided, cost amount, how you can help contribute if you're interested in contributing. We've also received information or emails from some of our past graduating classes who expressed interest in being a part of our Bethel legacy as the class of 1970, 2000, whatever. So we're really excited about the work we've done. And we would anticipate, although a lot of our corporate sponsorships have been provided or secured, we are still waiting on final contracts to be reviewed by attorneys and signatures to take place. But as you can see, we've raised a significant amount of money as far as naming rights of our pavilion and walkway, which has been announced. That'll be the TIP Foundation. So thank you to those folks. If you scroll up a little bit, we've also secured naming rights for the athletic stadium, the turf portion or the field portion of the stadium, and also naming rights for the 8-lane track. So really excited about that and the dollar amounts that we've secured for those. And then what else is still available to secure as well. So that kind of gives you an idea of the stadium. The K-5 building is a $28.5 million project that the district has been able to secure funds for without adding or asking for additional funds from our community. We were able to do that through the Certificates of Participation Program, COPS, and really through the TIF taxes that we are receiving with the developments throughout the district. And so the future is very, very bright here at Bethel. And just to kind of put some future work on the radar, that will lead us after this project's done. If I have any hair left, will lead us to the CFAP portion, which will take us into the next phase of our building project, which is you're probably going to be looking at the next 6 to 8 years of addition and growth as far as buildings. What that CFAP project is going to look like is a great question, and we'll continue to have future conversations with our staff and our community to kind of see what the next step in the direction of the program is. But I think this gives you a good aerial diagram of kind of where additional buildings and facilities are going to be located and kind of how this all plays out for the next couple of years as we finish up schematic design, begin to break ground early this fall. And we anticipate being in the new K-5 building at the start of the fall 23-24 school year. So I know it seems like a long way away, but the last year's gone quick on this part, maybe not necessarily everything else COVID-wise, but this has gone really quick, and I'm really excited about the work we've done, the conversations we've been able to have with administration and teachers as far as design of the building and kind of what it looks like. That gives you an idea there. Letter C, summer cleaning crew update. Really excited about the work that our summer cleaning crew have done this summer. Appreciate the staff members that have been willing to give up their summertime and join our summer cleaning crew. I thought last year they did an outstanding job of preparing our buildings and facilities for the upcoming school year, and that trend has definitely continued this school year. They work like dogs during the summer and have done a great job. They've moved through the elementary building and they're finishing that up. Our floor crew is stripping and waxing floors, finishing up the modular units, and we'll be hitting the elementary building next as our cleaning crew moves through the elementary here. I would say in the next couple of days, next week, and we'll move on to the middle school. So thank you to those folks. Letter D is a huge project that we've been undertaking in the district, is the upgrading from our Cat5 wiring. I should probably let him talk about this stuff. This is out of my realm. So you correct me on all the things I say wrong tomorrow. The Cat5 that was put in significantly a long time ago, and upgrading to Cat 6E cabling, which will be the first phase of 2 phases. That project's going really well. Also, they're in the 4th grade hallway kind of area right now, moving through the middle school. And then the next phase of the project will be next Christmas break, adding additional access points. What else are we doing? Switches?
Yes.
Switches.
Well, the switches are now.
Switches are now.
Yeah.
And what else are we doing? Because you know more than I do.
I think that's it.
Okay. Which will significantly increase the internet capability and reliability as far as being able to deliver service throughout the district. And really looking forward to the project and what it's going to bring not only for our staff, but our students. And a good portion of that project was paid through our E-rate program and funding, which is our government dollars that we receive for upgrades to technology. And then finally, this is one that we're kind of in the process of working, another project that we have going on. So if you've ever been down our, one of our side hallways, you'll see a small little plaque with some Hall of Fame recognition, and some of the years haven't been updated, and thankfully thankful to the athletic department and the athletic boosters and also the district, we're able to partner with Creative Green Solutions, who's recently produced our alma mater fight song banners and some of the other recognition banners that we have in the high school gymnasium, to create and design a new Hall of Fame display that will be installed this summer. You can kind of see the display picture, the overall display picture, and where it'll be located is in the doorway from the Hive entrance past the athletic office to basically where the band entrance doorways are on that wall. And it's going to break down each of the people individually. It'll be probably about an 8.5 or 8 by 10 photo. They'll have a picture of them, the year they were inducted, the year they graduated, and then gives a little bit of a bio on each of them. And I can't thank Mrs. Butler enough. Reagan has been outstanding through this project. She's done a ton of work as far as securing photos, digging through old news articles, trying to find historical information on these folks, because some of it was easy to find and some of it was really, really challenging. Some of the photos that are out there. And I think it's going to be a nice upgrade to recognize the folks that have left a legacy here at Bethel Local Schools and have done some pretty outstanding stuff as athletes, as coaches, or just as people who contributed significantly to the enhancements and improvements throughout the years at Bethel. So I know Mr. Elam's found a couple mistakes that we're still correcting. We're still in the editing phase, but I think it's a good way to recognize some of these people as well. Those are the items that I have to see.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ferks. Those are all awesome updates and covering some great information. So thank you for that. I'd like to say thank you to the athletics and Ms. Butler, Mr. Smith for pushing forward with that Hall of Fame display, because if we don't celebrate our past, how are we to celebrate our future? So that's just wonderful. So next up is number 10, and that's board report. So I would like to ask for a motion for the Board of Education to approve Tina Hageman as the treasurer starting August 1, 2021 through July 31st, 2024 at an annual salary rate of $115,000 on a 260-day contract, pending those required certifications and BCFBI background checks. Do we have a motion to hire our new treasurer?
Lida, I'll move.
Thank you, Lida. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Jacob. This is Lori.
Thank you, Lori, for the second. Discussion? I would just like to say that it's a very wonderful opportunity that we were able to bring Ms. Hageman to our school to help us in our future and be our chief financial officer. Based on the process we went through, she rose to the top and is going to be stellar, I think, for our school, community, teachers, staff, and students. She's very well-rounded and comes with a lot of experience and knowledge that I believe will assist us in moving forward to continue the Bethel legacy. So,
You're here.
yes, thank you.
Thrilled to have her, and there will be a press release sent out later tonight or early tomorrow on various channels. So we're thrilled to have her with us, and we wish you could start a month sooner, but that's okay.
All right, Mr. Wanamaker, could you call the vote, please?
Mrs. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Mrs. Reese, Mrs. King, Mr. King.
Totally. My answer is still yes. And I would say, Ms. Hageman, would you like to come on and say anything?
Well, thank you, all of you, for such a wonderful vote of confidence. I'm looking forward to joining the Bethel team. August 1st, I wish I could start sooner, but I do have my current position that I would like to fulfill with my current team, but I am so looking forward to joining the team. I'm very excited to work with Mr. Ferks and everyone there. So, you know, hopefully August 1st will come quickly. So thank you for allowing me to join the team, and I look forward to working with all of you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hageman, and appreciate you joining our team. So I think it's going to be a great combination as we move forward. So thank you. Next will be as amended, item B. And Lori, would you like to start with that item?
Do we need to vote on the other item first? Did we, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, the item is to approve.
I'm very happy about it.
We're still discussing, my apologies. To approve the exterior finishes Garmin Miller presented at the facilities meeting. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Please do.
Let me pull up my phone here quick. She sent me a screenshot of what we talked about during the facilities meeting. So we had our facilities meeting this evening at 5 p.m. It was located at Bethel Hall. We essentially received updates from Garmin Miller on the exterior finishes in regards to the building. They did give some kind of preliminary updates on where we're at in the process. They have submitted design development docs to OFCC for consideration. Currently, we're kind of almost to the estimate process where they go out and receive bids on various stages of the project for the early site package, which will allow us to begin to make decisions on who's going to provide services for what. They did also share some of their design processes and where they're at with schematic features of the building, which is one of the photos that we shared this evening, but they also showed a 3D design interactive video, which will be shared on our website here very, very soon. And then also discussed some of the exterior finishes in regards to different materials that will be used on the facing of the building. And so the the Facilities Committee did accept the recommendations made by Garmin Miller, and it'll be on the agenda this evening for consideration by the board, and then kind of some future updates. Some of the things that we'll be talking about in the very, very near future would be some of the soil boring testings that they've taken and received results back on, and then also waiting on results from the traffic study in regards to 201 and lightening of 201 so that it will be able to handle some of the traffic that will be down there with the entrance and exit from the elementary buildings.
Next meeting is at 6.
Yeah, next meeting will be July 12th, 2021. It'll be at 6 p.m. here in the high school media center.
All right, thank you. So Lori, is it, were you making a motion to accept the exterior finishes as presented to the Facilities Committee by Garmin and Miller for the Board of Education to approve?
Yes.
All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Elam. Now discussion. All right, well, first and foremost, I know this was pretty significant for us to finalize on the final exterior finishes for the new school. And I would like to thank Garmin and Miller for all their work they've done to help us get to the point we are. But most importantly, our Facilities Committee, comprised of teachers, staff, Mr. Ferks, as well as our community members that sit on our facility board. So I'd like to thank them as well for their time and effort in this. Is there any other discussion items? All right, Mr. Wanamaker, could you call the vote, please?
Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Mrs. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mrs. Reese, and Mr. King.
Yes. Is there any other items from the board report the board members like to report on? All right, hearing none, then it would be a hearing from the BEA president.
All right. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Ferks for the Years of Service Awards, our carry-in that we had on the last day of school. That was very nice, as well as the ice cream. It was delicious. Thank you. At the senior awards night, the BEA did give 3 scholarships. Maddie Spaeth, Nathaniel Patton, and Alina Yarwick received scholarships. Also, on a sad note, Mrs. Judy Sheldon, who retired here in 2002, passed away this week after 40 years of service in education. She was a former BEA union president. Just thought I'd mention that. She was a very, very witty, sweet teacher. So I just want to put that out there. Her obituary is on legacy.com if you want to read more. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Ms. Brewer. Now for the next item on the agenda would be hearing of the public. Have you had any notice for any hearing of the public? I've seen none on YouTube. Is there any there?
We have one, Jacob. Go ahead.
I just had a quick question. This is kind of a
Tell
hot.
your name so that.
Oh, sorry, Rachel Kiplinger. I was just wondering if the district itself has is doing anything with the critical race theory. Is that something the district has been doing, is planning on doing, or is not doing?
That would be a curriculum question, I believe. Mr. Ferks, are you prepared to answer that question now or as a follow-up?
I can answer it now. I've had discussions with our curriculum director, Mr. Jay Borchers. This time, the district is not pursuing any direction in that facet. If staff members make mention of it in the district, that's a personal choice, but the district is not endorsing the teachings of that theory within our district.
Thank you.
If you have any additional questions with it, I could also have Mr. Borchers reach out to you and have more discussion. But I've had talks with him already about it. So.
All right. Is there any other comments?
We have one for Jacob, Mr. Steve Phipps.
Okay.
We were talking about the COVID protocols that you're looking forward to in the fall. Didn't mention sporting events, gym capacity and that kind of stuff. You got that far yet?
We haven't been given that information yet. I would anticipate it's going to be full release because it is at the professional level right now. But we typically have to wait from guidance from the Ohio High School Athletic Association on that. And I do not believe they've released anything on that yet. If that's incorrect, I apologize, but I'll have
I don't know. I was just curious because I know it won't be long. We'll be starting.
No, I know, absolutely. So I can tell you this, as soon as we get information on it, we'll get it out to people because that's going to impact season ticket sales and how people plan. But as of right now, I do not believe that OHSAA is indicating anything in regards to that.
So follow-up question to that, are you going to keep the online stuff that you have now?
Yeah, absolutely. That'll still be an option, but people will still be able to.
Because I think with family in Nebraska and Mississippi, it's really nice to have.
Oh, you mean the online streaming?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the camera capabilities in the gymnasium and also our current stadium are remaining in place. So we will offer that opportunity for folks who live abroad that still want to follow Bethel schools. There's going to be a fee there for subscription. It'll be an option moving forward. I think that's probably one of the things that came out of COVID that was something that we should have been doing for years, that I'm glad we're able to do now. That one of those things that you look back and say, that'll probably stick. Yeah. You're welcome. We'll also offer the online capability for tickets, but we'll still take cash at the gate. The only downfall with the online is that people have to pay a transaction fee, which is.
I understand more like that, but each school had their own way of doing it.
Yeah.
It's just confusing.
Okay. We'll keep that as well. If people want to buy their online tickets, but they don't have to either. So.
And it will be nice for people who show up who don't have cash. There's an option for them. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how the breakdown is after fall season, how many we have by online versus in person. I'd expect most to shift back, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Good question. Thank you.
Yeah, they're all very good questions. So thank you. Am I missing anyone else? All right. Hearing that, then moving on to executive session. Does anyone on our team feel we need to enter into executive session?
I think we do.
I believe we need to go into executive session for item number 1 to consider appointment, employment, and compensation of an employee. Does anyone have any other reasons?
Yeah, I think we're thinking of the same one, so.
Okay. All right. Hearing no other. I'm sorry. Was there anything else other than one?
I think that was just crowd gathering their belongings. We have quite a number of people here this evening.
Okay, thank you. That's awesome to hear. So based on that, do we have a motion to enter into executive session for item number 1 as stated?
I'll move.
Thank you, Lori. Do we have a second? Is that
You
Lida?
Lord, motion and light it for the second if you wish. That's fine. Either way.
All right. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
All right. Can you call the vote, please, sir?
Yes, Mrs. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian.
Yes.
Reese and Mr. King.
Yes. So we'd be entering into executive session at 8:11 p.m. Thank you all for joining us. To this. Say that again.
Anticipated vote.
I do not anticipate us to have a vote after executive session at this time, based on my knowledge, but that does not mean that there wouldn't be one at the end of this executive session.
Okay, cool. Fair enough.
Thank you, everybody. Especially our new people. Congratulations and welcome.
Congratulations.
Thank you. This is so good to see you too.
Thank you for everything you've done. I'm glad you came back and helped us out again. We're gonna miss you again. So I hope we'll see you around. Oh, my gosh, yeah. Just be hanging around and you'll just drive down this way. But enjoy all the good things that you want to really do. Now that COVID's over, just go do and enjoy. Thank you very much. Bye. I think we're just recovering from what? We can do things.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Just information, we're still live on YouTube.
I mean, it's like everybody's. Yeah, maybe that's stuff now. It's like. You ladies have a good day.
Good seeing you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Broyle.
Happy to help you.